Good morning. This is FPS, and we're going to do a few minutes on Google News. Decoding the codes. I started here on entertainment homepage. I've been waiting for some days for a good day because the news headlines have been so advanced and alarming that it would be hard to sort of keep pace. But then today I saw these headlines are what they used to be like. Just sort of general washing of pre-programming and some hints of things in here and there. So we can sort of look at this one without we can start here without getting too taken off. But to orientate us, the headline news will always start up here. This sometime is a decoy, and if it's a decoy, the other headline will be down here or here or here. Remember that when you're opening this thing up, that you're not the news consumer. You're the audience you're like a secret agent. You're a double agent. You are intercepting the messages from the enemy, and they're all here for them, and I'm going to explain to you how they organize it so they can read it easy. And then you're just going to do the same thing. You're going to decode, intercept, decode, mimic and mock, do what they do, so you can understand how they talk to each other. Knowledge, right? The antidote is understanding. Witchcraft is always undone when you know about it. Especially with this is all, besides the coding and the organization of evil, with the actual team, the coaching instructions, the game plan, the updates, keeping everybody up to date. Google News is not consumerism news. Google is, it's an insider, it's an intranet. It's for the shadow government. It's for the Jesuits. This is Jesuits talking to Jesuits. So this is all literati. This is why it's kind of so hard, because it's flipped. There's people who are just like you and me. They're playing a character, though. They go to your school. They have a fake name that they gave you, and they go on the news. And this has doublespeak. This is actually to them. It talks to them about their life, what they're supposed to be doing, what they can expect for their freedoms, and sort of expressing themselves on the day-to-day. It tips them off on how to talk and what phrases to use, and does all sorts of stuff for just normal. Every single sector of the beast system, the whole pyramid, gets their messages here. And they may not be privy to some of the CIA type MI6 sort of stuff, but they're just trying to live their life. Their role is to blend in to society. And so Google helps them. Everything helps them. But Google, this is a really good teacher because it's nicely organized. So we can deconstruct it. Okay, so up top, the news, top stories. Remember, top stories, everything here. We're not going to pay attention to the stories real quick. We're just looking down the left pane. Everything here is on this side. So if you're trying to speed read, they'll go, okay, what are my topics today? London, so in here will be like a couple messages, a couple trends. They always want you to stay on point of what the people are being moved by, because that's all they're doing. And then it will have your local stuff. And I type in some junk. As you can tell, I don't have anything signed in or whatever else, and I turn off all my locators, and then I'll type in like something that is in the center of California, so that it will feed me kind of like a generalized feed, because it will just keep going. If you go to a highly populous area, you'll get a more diverse feed than if you start picking something that's totally sequestered in a little tiny compartment. Then they have their little categories. This is not categories of news. This is categories of, propaganda. There would be other stuff, other things available here going on if it was not just messaging. Okay, this is updating their team. This is like a military memo. Every morning they get together and they put together what's going on, and like the president gets his briefing and the populace needs their briefing and their deceptions. Again, the first one is always just to grab your eye. There could be a message in there, but this is also, the public is always the one that goes here. So whether you're reading it or decoding it, this is always an important one, obviously, right? And then, but they'll sometimes bury the headline, as the editors call it, and put their stronger message down here. Notice that the categories again, top stories, so that they'll tell you all that's happening, but there's also the spotlight. So you got two organizational things for you right there in their messaging. The world, and then the U.S. Now, U.S. is probably because I'm in the U.S., and if I was some other country, whatever. But they would also probably have like a U.S. I'm sure if you're in some other country, you can click on World, Technology, and then a U.S. button. No, that should say America. The United States is a federal corporation. It's not my country. They need me. I don't need them. This should say America. So remember that every time they put United States in there, it's like using your fictitious name in capital letters. They're just trying to brainwash everyone and everything into thinking the United States corporate government is actually the holder of all American rights, and they distribute them to people, and we are nothing without them. And it works. Then they're all like boom, 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 telling you what's going on, what's happening. Powerball, Kamala Harris. If you're in this and you know what's going on, this is just tipping you off what they're feeding the public, and giving you a sense of where the game is at. The business one is always horrifying. This is bad news. Bad news. It's very hard to open this up on these. But again, these ones over here will be different. Remember that this one will be a headline, and if the public will all get caught here. The public's all getting caught here. Ooh, what's this? Click on this, yada yada. People don't normally use this as a real tool. Like, oh, I get here and I go Dow Jones, I click on this, and they go yada yada, and I type in my stuff here. People don't do that. They come here for headlines. The only people who use this stuff are the Illuminati. And then this is over here for Illuminati. This is like boom, boom, boom. Don't read all this. Go boom, boom, boom. Just read this. Get orientated. And then if you want to click on something, you will. And we'll get to that point. Technology will do the same thing. This headline is for the public usually, but for the Illuminati, this is, hey, this is what's really going on, because they are moving in unison, like riding a wave. This is the wave, and you got to get on the crest of it. And they're just kind of keeping you up to date so you can stay up. And again, boom, boom, boom. Let them know what the big things are that's going on, what's moving on the public, and your little tiny messages over here. And then the headlines for the general larger public movement. We'll break them down in a second. But you'll see as you go through that all these things here are really telling you what's going on. And if you're over here, you're getting lost in news. And if you click on one of these things, it's going to be a 1,000-word story. Just lost. And you just lost your day. You clicked on one story, two stories, you spent 35 minutes, you've read so much crap, and it was all lies. And notice how science is always NASA, space. So there's other things in science, right? Of course there's health and technology and all sorts of things in science, but come on. Like, NASA, I mean, all we want to read about is NASA and Space Batman. It's just crap. Absolute crap. It's not science. This is telling you how they're moving the public. If you're reading through this, getting your messages, you're like, yeah, boom, 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 hitting all these points, pushing all this stuff. That's the state of the day. And you know that the public's reading all this stuff and eating it up like Skittles. And you can go out and talk about all of it and push it and go, yeah. So, they fake interest in stuff, so they have conversations just merely to keep pushing you down the line in distraction. So they use this to walk out in their world, and all the people in your life are talking about this dumb stuff because half of them are covert agents, straight up. And then health. We're going to go back and be clicking on these stories in a second. Again, fentanyl. This is huge. They're showing you what's going on here. Yemen and health. I don't know. Philadelphia. There's all sorts of stuff in here. And if you're reading this just because you're reading the news, you're looking. What are you seeing? You're seeing diseases, like canine influenza, all sorts of weird stuff. Relay for life. Just brainwashing crap. But the one that is scary is the fentanyl one. We'll click on some of these, and we'll show you how to go a little deeper in it. It's just always aggravating. And then finally, spotlight. So if you want to get orientated on the Google News, you'd come in, you hit the top stories, get your brain washed, And then you go to Spotlight, because then that's the other thing that, this is now all of a sudden they've culled all this out to be like, okay, this is what our whole program is talking about. And it will have a nice, this is where this one comes up, and you can just short read all of these. So you don't have to get lost in any of this stuff. You can see, oh, here's the number 33, so that's a planted story. You got a story on a preacher, that's going to be all about hating God. And you can see some here, they're just telling you, if you're decoding it, they're giving you options to read into these things to get maybe this is your wheelhouse. See how there's a wheelhouse, there are all sorts of different wheelhouses over here. You got Trump, you got technology and iMac. You got a 12-year-old singing a ventriloquist. That's guaranteed to be a little boy in a leotard. Where is she? Darcy Lynn. I don't even want to click on this. Guaranteed to be a little 12-year-old boy sexing it up in a leotard on international television, trying to get you going with dolls, of course, and spirits and demons. Those ventriloquists are scary stuff. Going on and going forth. You got sports. Everything here that if you're Illuminati and you're a plant and you got to keep your game up, you can click on this and read into it. The one that I wanted to click on to give you some insight, we'll start with the general feel here for health. It'll always come to an end at the bottom. If you want, you can read up from the bottom. Generally in the organization, that's not good, but once you get in actually, if you click on an article, most things you're going to read from the bottom up. I'll show you. But there was one here, cashews, U.S. drug, the overdose, deaths, or this one here. Was that the fentanyl one? So this is what they do. They roll out morphine, and it's highly, highly addictive. And if I'm in a hospital and I have a patient who needs morphine, I give them morphine. If morphine stops working on them, because it's just like an opioid receptor, it's a receptor agonist-antagonist relationship of concentration. Just a physical law of like diffusion, osmosis, and the receptors become insensitive, just like an insulin receptor becomes insensitive to insulin, and it will stop working. Well, we have other solutions, as in we have more powerful drugs, and fentanyl is like 1,000 times more powerful than morphine. And so we use this in a hospital, like, very gingerly. And we use morphine gingerly, and this is more powerful. So it tells you how we usually have to put this on a mechanical pump where we can't even touch it, because it will kill you. It will kill you so fast. Morphine will kill you. So if you're giving somebody morphine and it's as powerful as 1, and then you slip in there 1/10% of fentanyl, all of a sudden it's as powerful as 100, and they're dead. So to get people hooked on morphine or the opioid, heroin, and then slip some fentanyl into their powder, they're going to die. So then they have a story here that's like, oh, we don't, here, additional 50 times more powerful. We don't know how this is hitting the streets. Or, oh, these drug addicts are like stealing it from hospitals. I mean, come on, bro. Come on. The DEA has also warned officers against letting drug-sniffing dogs too close to anything that might contain fentanyl. So all of a sudden they're telling, if you are a CIA agent, you work for the DIA, they're like, hey, we're giving you a way out. You don't have to come find all the fentanyl. You can be like, oh, that we know it's heroin, but it might be fentanyl, so we're not even going to send our dogs over. So they're just giving free pass of the fentanyl coming into the airports. Just 2 milligrams, the equivalent of a few grains of a table of salt, an amount that can fit on the tip of your finger, can be lethal. This is true. That's just the whole point. It can look exactly like heroin, except you just put a couple pinches of fentanyl in there, and they're all dying. They're all going to die. And this is how they're not only telling. This is not. Think about this. If you're a person reading the news, what are you going to come away with? Nothing. You don't understand this. You don't know that the CIA is the one bringing the drugs in, and we're doing it to ourselves. And it's increasing times 1,000%. I saw a graph on these deaths. All drug deaths are going up by like 1,000,000% because they're trying to get the game to go over with. Whenever there's a recall, that company wasn't playing along, so they just got like a government letter that said you have to recall all this stuff because we found something. It ruins their business. It ruins their business. And they'll also do a recall. They'll poison stuff. They'll do all sorts of things if you're not playing along. So what these headlines are for other businesses who are getting pressure to go along with the Illuminati, and they don't want to, and they're going to find out. They're just being warned. And if you were working on that case or knew anything about it, or if you're involved in that kind of stuff at all, this would be what they would look into and go, okay, how are we doing that to people? And in there would be codes and how they did it. So then a couple trends. We have up here a tick-borne disease. So they are releasing all of our old diseases into the public. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, everything they told you that we cured with a shot, or anything they haven't cured, because they claim we've cured things with immunizations and they weren't cured. Not even according to science. So all these diseases are going to be coming back into the United States. And part of this, as they do it, they have to tell people like you and me that we know what's going on and it's progressing. And then they have to, in the same double-speak tongue, drum up fear without awareness. These people can't become aware that they have no protection anymore. Where this disease is coming from, well, they're all man-made mostly. And they just release them on the public. And they withhold the antidote. You can see that the cholera, this is why Yemen was coming up. There's cholera in Yemen. These are plagues. These are plagues, dude, and they're coming. And some of them are being introduced by man, and after that they're going to be introduced by God. And when a man introduces plague unto himself, it's so that they suffer and die hating God. Everything's working against. Remember, this is all Illuminati programming. So before, when the Illuminati program maybe not have been so thorough, these headlines would have been kind of like, we're trying to get in, we're trying to do stuff. But now it's like we have everything's in our fist and we're choking it out. We're in complete and total control. So it's also totally reassuring all the evil people that they're in control. This dry drowning, okay, remember, love waxes cold. This dry drowning is a murder. This is a child abuse. Dry drowning is when you play a game with a kid where you keep dunking them and dunking them and dunking them and dunking them, and then you take them out, and then their lungs are filled with water, and they can walk around for a couple hours, and they fall asleep, and they die. This, of course, is not going to stop the child abuse or increase awareness. Unfortunately, this is just to let the evil people know that their program's progressing, because even normal people are losing their minds and killing their kids all over the place. And this isn't health, not what this should be like. Crime. Why is it? I'm coming here to learn how to eat and be healthier. Why are you telling me? Because it's all programming. The Florida woman who gives birth to this is gonna be some weird stuff, dude. The 13.5 pound baby. Okay, so this is a diabetic baby. When you're in the womb, insulin is a growth hormone. It's a hormone. We're regulated entirely by hormones. Insulin is a hormone, and it is a growth hormone. And so if you feed the baby, if you eat a ton of sugar, high fructose corn syrup, while you're pregnant, you'll have a bigger baby. Now, that's not the only thing that sugar does. Sugar is a hormone. It works on a hormone, so you can kind of think of it like a hormone. It is the most highly regulated molecule in the body. Your body runs on sugar, not oxygen. So when you do this, when you play with sugar in the body, it has profound effects on everything else. And part of what they do in the womb to babies, the satanic traumatization, is actually overfeeding them sugar, because it will mess with it. This is not an advisable situation, I'll just say. And so this is an Illuminati baby that is being, big exclamation mark, look what we're doing, and because the women who are having these babies and doing this stuff, doctors don't even understand the effects of sugar on a baby's mind. So humans and animals, they're wiping all the boundaries and lines, everything about our genetics, our birthing process, our doctors treating animals, veterinarians, should prison officials be mental health professionals and doctors? They're blending all the lines for chaos, but also so that, once you believe in evolution and you want to be a machine and you don't really believe that life starts in the womb, all this is leading you towards total confusion. And when the smaller points come up for confusion, like how do you raise a child properly, they talk about drinking cow's milk, this thing will be all lies. We'll cook on this, watch. Nutrition team finds 3-year-olds consuming alternative milks were 1.5 centimeters shorter on average. I just talked to my at 4:44 p.m., so you know this is pure Illuminati. I talked to my nephew about this just the other day. He told me where he's at the age about, between, he's not quite mature yet, he's adolescent, and he just had a bout with pasteurized milk where he said, dude, I think the cereal was bad. I just had cereal and all of a sudden my stomach started cramping. I had pain. I had to go to the bathroom and it went right through me. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel horrible right now. And I don't know if it was the cereal or what. And I was like, oh, dude, this is what happens. Milk comes with the enzyme that digests it. We call it an enzyme, or really it's a bacteria. It's called lactolase. And you can make a lacto-fermented beverage out of it. And that's how you make fermented beverages, is with the bacteria in milk that consumes milk, because that's fermentation. It eats it and it's waste. You see what I'm saying? It converts it. And that's where you get the effervescence in a fermented beverage. It's from the bacteria farting. So these bacteria are supposed to be lining our gut, like all the way, 100%, like fauna, like no exposed skin. And our first implant is from the colostrum on the breast milk. And that colonizes our gut for a very, very long time. But like my nephew's finding out, it'll only colonize your gut till a certain age, a very young age. And then those bacteria die off because you haven't been replacing them. You've been drinking pasteurized, boiled, killed milk, which is washing it all out. You're like sterilizing your gut. And then at the point that it becomes sterile of that enzyme, lactolase, that eats lactose, it can't eat lactose anymore. So lactose gives you other problems. And what will happen is you'll have like a secondary or a tertiary bacteria eat the lactose, and its waste product won't be exactly what you need it to be, and it'll be discomforting. And then your body won't digest all the milk. It'll just run right through you. So this is why we started alternative milks. This is why, let's drink soy and other milks and all this other stuff. Instead of, just think about it. How long have you been drinking milk? Well, if you think we're millions of years old, we've been drinking it for millions of years. We've been at least drinking it for 10,000 or 5,000 or 4,000 nonstop. When did we start boiling it? 1920. When did we start having problems with milk? 1920. It's not difficult, people. It's not difficult. And this is why it is difficult, though, because you're just reading the news going, oh, yeah, man, like, cow's milk is bad for you. So this poor girl, we're not going to talk about it. She's definitely an Illuminati kid, making it in the news and everything else. Woo-hoo. The story's all made up. It's going to get you, we don't know, we don't know what it's doing yet. It might be reversing it. It might be telling us the truth. It might be doing something. I don't know. So here we go. I converse with many vegan parents. We know that that really store-bought almond milk is advertised as a diet food, low calorie, low fat. It is not a toddler food. Thompson thinks much more research is needed before saying there's a true causal link between drinking alternative milks and shorter height. The study was funded by the Canadian Institutes for Health Research and St. Michael's Hospital Foundation. All right, we missed maybe it's here. Neiman said the findings stimulate conversation, but more longer-term information is also needed. For her part, Thompson is conscious about giving her daughter foods rich in protein and other nutrients, such as hummus, nut butters, tofu, and tempeh. Okay, so proteins and other nutrients. What are your bones made out of? Calcium. What's in milk? Calcium. What is in milk that helps you absorb calcium? Vitamin D. What is killed when they boil it besides the proteins? All of your fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, are killed when they boil it. So you lose the proteins, you lose the nutrients, and you also lose the absorption of calcium, which is why you shrink. And soy milk isn't the answer. And even though it's making you shorter because there's no nutrients in it, it says right here, well, the takeaway is, it's just an association. You can't say that it makes you shorter. The number of children drinking non-cow's milk has been growing steadily over the past 10 years. Yeah, because the answer isn't non-cow's milk. The answer is milk. Just the basic form of milk, the way we drank it for thousands of years, raw. You can have cow's milk, but I understand that what we actually drank was goat's milk. Do you see any of that in here? Do you see anyone talking about maybe we should just stop touching the milk and just drink it as we used to? No. No, you don't. When talking to families, Neiman said it's important to know what's driving their decision. If they're telling me maybe they did it for environmental reasons, they're vegan, I have to respect that and work with them. Just because something that's a fad, because the neighbor's doing it, then I think you can work with those people and explain. I can't tell you what to do, but because the neighbor's doing it. So if your neighbor's drinking raw milk and telling you should drink raw goat's milk, they're probably dumb. We don't know anything. This is not an association. We don't even know. We don't even know why this thing is here. You just read like 1,400 words to confuse you. You had a nice little baby picture here, and all you thought was cow's milk is bad for you. And what? You know what I mean? Just distraction. You just got lost in nothing, and you got lied to, and you lost nothing. And everyone who knows that you should be drinking raw milk is, the Illuminati. And they're like, man, this is all bullshit. These people are just going for nothing. Look at all this. Millions and trillions of dollars. Millions and trillions of dollars. All we have to do is stop boiling our milk to death. You have to eat living food. You see how I don't do this every day? I go on rampages. And then you can see over here, they're just, they work you step by step, never towards the answer. You always think you're going somewhere. Do we have it backward on giving kids low-fat milk instead of whole? Well, raw milk is whole milk. And we started after we took the nutrients out and the bacteria out, we started selling each other the milk that had the fat taken out, which has all the fat, anything that's left in it, the fat-soluble A, D, and E, and K, which is all you need out of the milk besides the bacteria and the calcium. And so they got all that out and started taking out the low-fat milk. And now instead of just going, everybody was cool with whole milk back then. They didn't start pasteurizing milk because there was problems. They started pasteurizing milk because it was more economical to feed millions of people. There was never any problem with raw milk. And then they started because it was all bad reasons, they started, like I said, they'll just come out with news after news story after fine, after FDA story about raw milk killing people. That's all made up. Raw milk can't be any worse for you than spinach. It gets the same diseases the same way spinach does. It was stepped on, or it fell on the ground, or something else was added to it. It's perfectly fine the way God made it in the first place. We messed it up. So then here's a link. How to give babes peanut-based foods to cut allergy risk. They're saying feed them peanuts so that you expose them even though they're allergic to it. Which, let's not talk about that entirely, except that the allergies are because we don't have food in our stomach. We don't have bacteria. We're being irritated by food that we can't digest because we've eradicated and sterilized what we have to digest it, and then we're eating all the wrong forms of it, and we're eating food that's man-made. We're eating space food. It's not food. And they told you space food was better. Remember? Tang and everything else. MREs, whatever. Preschoolers need just 2 cups of milk a day. So it's still telling you to drink the milk. And then got milk, not anymore, says Yukon goat dairy farmers. So clearly the Yukon goat dairy farmers are being pushed out. So goat milk is not the answer. See how it's just nowhere and nothing, all dead ends? Even on American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. These are all, this is what smart people read, who think that they're smart, and they're like, yeah, no, I know. I read the complicated stuff, man. I don't fall for the headlines. And then here you go. Wow. Just wow. Everything here is a story on how migraines linked to bacteria in mouth. Have you ever heard that your mouth is dirtier than a dog's mouth? Well, they're saying what's true is that you have more bacteria forms, a greater variance of bacteria in your mouth, which means that it's more powerful at digesting things. See? Those are enzymes that eat things. That's what we're talking about. See this headline right here? Sunscreen? Should tell you right away that you shouldn't be using sunscreen. Think about it. Would God put us in skin and under a sun where that thing caused that thing cancer? No. The sunscreen's giving you cancer, dude. The immunizations, the boiled milk, everything together, you go out in the sun, and then you get the cancer. Don't put the sunscreen on. The sun's good for you. Get serious. Just don't get burnt, obviously. Well, I don't know about nowadays, man. We're all going to be smoking like Riddick coming from the wasteland when we come inside in a couple months, man. It's just going to be pure hot UV power. Screen's not a toy. Canadian pediatricians promote limits for kids 5 and under. If you click on this, it'll tell you keep giving your kid the toy and the scrying mirror so it can look into it. It will give you the headline that says, oh, this is going to give me reasons to help me not give my kid my iPad anymore, and then you'll come away from it feeling okay about what you've done. Oh, here we go. At least 2,458 Canadians died from opioid-related overdoses in 2016. Opioid-related overdoses. They're talking about how they are successfully slipping greater potencies in killing people. They are overdosing. Dude, drug dealer, people who take drugs know they are more regulated on what they put in their body with their drugs than you would believe. An addict is extremely sensitive to his body. That's normally why they became an addict, because they can't deal with their body. They can't deal with their sensitive connection to their body, so they numb it and they kill it and they drink it, and they are very keen on how to handle their drugs. Overdosing an addict is hard. You have to kill them. You have to give them something they don't know, and they did that 2,400 times in 2016, and there's probably going to be 5,000 in 2017, and that's probably what we were reading earlier, is that if you paste it, they'd be like, we're on pace to beat last year. So our program is going forward. And then more on the cholera in Yemen. So now we got WHO, World Health Organization related. So now you can see, oh, well, maybe this is war. Maybe in Yemen they released cholera. The WHO did. Who does the WHO work for? WHO works for somebody. Is Yemen have a party in there? Are these people dying? Are they enemies of who? Are they enemies of who? This could be war. All right, we're going to go back. There's a cannabis and alcohol one. So, drinking. Oh yeah, drinking may be bad for your brain. Welcome to 2017. Maybe though, we're not really sure. We haven't done the science yet. We may need to do more research. Where is it? Here it is. Kissimmee firm offers access to medical cannabis. So they're doing a nice switch. You know, this is what we should have been seeing 40 years ago. Hey, by the way, alcohol's not too good, and medical cannabis maybe not too bad. Instead, we have this, you know, just heroin and opioids, people dying all over the place, addiction central. You know that cannabis is the cure to addiction, right? CBD. CBD will help you detox off your addiction. But this juxtaposition is nice because it offers you how they will gently flip a script, which is how they were, you know, doing this for a really long time, and I could have explained it easier. But they're flipping the script so hard right now that it's hard to catch up. I was waiting for a better day, but it seems like I might just have to start going after it. So this thing here, even moderate drinking may be bad for the brain. That's a nice temperate headline that won't move you too much. Sounds like journalism, but when you're reading through it, you're realizing they're just flipping the agenda. That's a nice gentle flip, and here's a nice gentle flip. Look, this one's about kids or something, right? There's like a child in there, and kissing me. It's like really nice and soft. Oh, cannabis, you see? Oh, so here's a tip on the spotlights. Remember, the spotlight's going to be like a Jesuit Freemason connection, and that 33 is a Freemason eye trigger, okay? This is some insight into how they've been operating. It's kind of going away, but don't forget that the Freemasons are also being deceived, okay? And one of the ways that they do it is they keep them coveting money. Because when you have knowledge of power or technology, what you're allowed to do in this society is flip it to get rich at other people's expense. And that's how the Freemasons stay in power, is they hold the technology, they hold the latest trends. They're the ones that are innovating and opening small businesses. And this is how they get tips on how to do it and how to stay ahead. Most entrepreneurs you'll meet are a Freemason. And it's because of stories like this. They make them jealous and envious and covetous, and they want to make a bunch of money. And that's really all that they keep the 33 degrees and below kind of hooked on. And that's why they've gotten weak at the ground level. It's because they all fell susceptible to their own devices like TV and such. But this 33-year-old turned just $200 into $1 million in 92 days selling Kevlar pants online. This is akin to the lottery. It feels like, oh, I could just get rich anytime. And if you'll hear a group of Freemasons talking about stuff, you'll see that every one of them is getting an angle on how they can turn it into a big money. And they'll always have stories and anecdotes about how some guy made one move and he made $300 million. It's because all they think about is money. They covet money. So you can see if you have a guy who's sitting around talking about, oh man, that guy, he made so much money for so little work and so little time. This is what this headline's saying. That's a brainwashing headline. So even the people who think they're getting the code, they're actually getting the lie. So don't let anyone tell you who's lying to you that they hold the truth. They don't hold the truth. They're holding a lie. They don't know anything. They're just lying to themselves, being lied to. Have you ever thought that maybe the cops and the lawyers and the judges and the Freemason were the target of the deception? Like, am I the target? Well, you lost. Your game's over. I'm not deceived anymore. So why are you still working? Oh, because I'm not the target. You're the target. The Freemason's the target. The cop is the target. The judge is the target. You're the ones going down. I'm not deceived. You lost. You had a task to deceive me and you failed. So why are you still working at it? Oh, I was never the target. It's all you sons of guns. He is bringing his recompense with him. You better believe that. That's what I'm here to warn you about. All right, so what else can we hit on here? Nuclear. Nuclear weapons don't exist. It is, like the diseases do, and they'll release the diseases. The radiation does, and they'll release the radiation. They have bombs, but the nuclear is really for fear, and they've been doing that, I mean, come on, since the Cold War. Everything else here is letting you know, Comey, this is not going to be that much of a problem. It's just going to continue to, really, I mean, maybe there's a civil war coming, and all this stuff is going to be doing that. For the Verizon's cutting jobs at Yahoo and AOL. So now we're seeing a shaping of the economic environment. Yahoo and AOL are old, big players, and Verizon's in charge of them now. They came afterwards, bottom up, and now they're cutting down their jobs. So you're seeing the Library of Alexandria occur, where they're putting all the information on the internet, and they're going to burn the internet. If you were Yahoo or AOL 6 years ago, and someone told you that they're going to buy you up and then burn the internet, you would have had enough money, enough market source to be like, no, we'll just create our own. I mean, we'll make some servers and we'll set up an internet. Screw you guys. But they can't do that anymore because they got bought up and everything's bought up and everything's owned, and they're all going to be tanked. Business trend that's also horrifying. Nordstrom's family explores taking retailer private, shares surge. So this is how you take over a country's entire economy. This is a publicly traded company, yada, yada, yada. Someone's going to come in and just buy it and make it private, which means that all the people think about this. You have a company originally that's private, and then you take it public because everybody makes more money. But all those people who are buying in and buying shares are eventually waiting for a day to cash out. So the entire stock market is full of companies that have people who are holding shares that want that company to be bought and to cash and sold out. And that's what's happening in Nordstrom. And if you know anything about retail environment, Macy's, Sears, all these people are being consolidated, bought out, and cashed out, dude. They're ending our economy. Done. They're going to, and the only way that people are going to go along with it is because all those people are getting cashed out mega bucks. They've been holding on to those Nordstrom shares for a long time. And then right into privatizing air traffic control. So we're privatizing all of our retail sector, going to get bought out and destroyed. And now we're going to privatize our air traffic control. And these stories are only aimed at moving your public opinion because that's what's going to happen. Okay, here we go. I was looking for this one. Manspreading is now a no-no on Madrid's public buses. Okay, so manspreading. When I was reading this, I was fully manspread. I don't know if you know this, but pants don't actually have room anymore for testicles. If you go to a man's pant rack anywhere in America, you're buying a woman's pant nowadays. They switched all of our clothes out. They're all tranny clothes. This is so the hidden transsexuals can shop off the rack. So what happens is that men have always had appropriate pants and could comfortably sit in a public place or whatever it is. And then they would have manspreading going on because men sit with their legs open more than not, especially with the pant on and all that stuff, more than a woman would. And men take up more room. Just the way the hips are, because their hips are narrow and their shoulders are broad, the legs kind of need to go out. And because there's stuff in between there, it's just natural to make like a V. We have a V that goes that way, and you have a V that goes that way, and you sit like this, and we sit like that, and then we can all sit next to each other, and it fits perfectly. Unless you have a bunch of trannies on the train who are actually women who are pretending to be men, who will bust their legs open just to annoy everybody on the thing to get them all pissed at men. And then the normal men like me who go to Target or Nordstrom and pull a pant off the rack nowadays is actually putting on a woman's pant that's made for a woman with a woman's body and no junk to have like a straight leg looking pant. And so it doesn't actually fit my body. And I can't cross my legs or sit there with my legs together because there's no room. And I will, all these poor men are wearing uncomfortable pants, and now they're actually manspreading on the trains because they can't fit. And then all their tranny counterparts who are pretending to be men are fully doing it rudely. So now there's a law that you can't even have junk between your legs and sit in public buses. Do they hate men? I don't know. That's about it for today, 6/8/2017. We're going to end off with this Qatar thing. Qatar. This is not really in the headlines, dude. This is World War. The Arab states have split. Part of it is controlled opposition. Part of it's real. When the Middle Eastern countries start warring with each other, it's going to be basically mainstream Muslims against ISIS. I don't know, but this is bad. This is a billion people. They're going to start fighting with each other, and they have all of our oil. And I don't know if you know this, but our entire economy can't run if we don't have oil. And for some reason, we don't make our own. We get it from Saudi Arabia because they gave us cheap rates, because we installed their oil for them and made them rich. And so that's why we've always had the best rates. And as they do this, they're going to raise oil rates, and all this other stuff is going to go bad. Not to mention all the political. This just gives the mainstream media the next level in control when it comes to religious programming and who's what and what's what, plus the chaos of war. Very bad stuff coming. Thanks for hanging around. This is a long one. If I do the Google News things in the future, now that you've seen this, or I can reference to it on some of the background decoding, I'll just show you how to do it real quick. It'll just be like 15-minute poppers. We'll hit the top stories. We'll hit the spotlight. And we'll go through and see what the programs are at, what the communique is doing, and we'll just make them work. We'll make them work. All right. This is FPS. Maranatha.